Discipline can never happen by beating the child, because discipline is internal. First thing, every single person who's listening, get this. If you're a parent, get this in your head, that discipline does not come from your beating. Discipline does not come from your constantly nagging behind the child. It comes from within. The moment you decided to be a parent, you should have looked upon what is parenting all about. And yes, of course, we don't know all the answers. We will never know the answers. And that's where, as a parent, healing yourself from your own triggers play a huge role in this.
Thank you so much for coming here. This has been such a pleasure, and I've been waiting for you to come here from so long. So, thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, please, for inviting me on this. I'm really looking forward to this.
Same here. So, before we go into the questions that I have, and so much curiosity is building up from the time we connected, right? So, before going to all these questions, for the people who have never heard about you, can you give an understanding about your journey since what you learned till now?
All right. So basically, I'm an engineer by profession. I have a decade years of experience in IT, being a full stack developer. But something, intrigued me into parenting after I became a parent. And when I started, learning more, going deeper into the concepts, I learned about inner child healing. And that's how, I started with something which is absolutely, new concept in India. And now, of course, now it is the talk of the town like that. But when I started around 5 years back, it was absolutely a new concept. And for me as well, going into deeper aspects of inner child healing has been something um, which has been a driving light for me. And yeah, it's been 5 years now, me doing child healing into this particular profession. And yeah, that's about me, Pritika.
Yeah, and I just love this concept of inner child healing. But for people who have not heard about it or they have not understood, can we start with the definition of what inner child, who inner child is, and
Yeah.
what is it, and what is inner child healing, and why people
Hmm.
require it?
Yeah. So I'll explain it to you with an analogy. This is something that I always share in the community. But imagine a tree, right? A tree has many fruits and leaves, right? And if you consider the fruits of a tree, these fruits are different areas of our life. Okay? And whenever, in our life, we have difficulties, problems, struggles, challenges with any area of our life, whether it's relationship, whether it's career, whether we have a dominating boss, whether we have a relationship where we are not getting along, the first thought that we get when something goes wrong is, let me switch my career, let me switch my job, or let me break up with this particular partner, right? I don't want to speak, or I don't want people around me. I don't want these people, right? And it mostly happens in relationships, and we tend to move from one job to another, another job to another, when we do not have a good boss. But what happens is we keep on repeating the same pattern in every job that we switch, every relationship that we switch. And that's the reason we feel that, people are bad, right? We generalize because we feel that everything is external. And if that fruit, right, that fruit that I was talking about, हम सोचते हैं वो फ्रूट ही निकाल के मैं फेंक देती हूँ, right? That's what human tendency is. But what we do not understand is, if the fruits are not right, if the fruits are not good, the problem is in the roots, right? Because we all know, the stronger the foundation, the healthier the fruits and the leaves would be, right? And where does our foundation come from as a human?
Childhood.
Absolutely. Our foundation comes from our childhood, and whatever we have learned as a child, it gets repeated as an adult. We keep on repeating because we live life by pattern, right? We all live life by pattern. And that's the biggest challenge today, that 95% people are not even aware about their patterns. They're not even aware that they have this pattern since childhood. They've collected this pattern since childhood. And why did we collect those patterns from childhood? Because from 0 to 12, the child is 100% subconscious. They do not have a filtration method. They do not have any conscious mind that is to be developed. The technical term is neocortex. The neocortex is not even developed yet, right? And whatever the child learns from 0 to 12, the same pattern keeps on repeating throughout our life. There might be some wounds, there might be some traumas that a child might go through. And I have so many clients or students of my own who have gone through even sexual abuse as a child. And it becomes a very sensitive topic, a very sensitive, space where the adult, most of the times, when we grow up, we just deny that part of us. We just deny that we have gone through anything of that sort. And trauma, when I say, people feel that, you have to go through a lot of trouble, lot of challenges in order to consider it as a trauma. But every single person's definition of trauma is different. And that's the reason we do not judge in this entire process. And that's where, why is that inner child term? Is because that child within us, wherever that child got wounded, whether it's a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 11-year-old, that child did not get that opportunity to grow. And that child is stuck there. And that's the reason we call it as inner child. Now, this inner child term is coined by a famous psychologist, Carl Jung. We all might be knowing, and Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud. It's all work from these legends. But what makes it super special is that every single person on this planet Earth has inner child wounds. Now, when I say inner child wounds, even the viewers know that they're coming from the adults who have those childhood traumas or childhood wounds or childhood conditioning that they have been through, right? And when we say inner child wounds, every single person has a different definition of wounds, different definition of conditioning and traumas. So that's where we create a very safe space inside the community as well, that there's no judgment as such. Because for a person who might have gone through a lot of beatings as a child, like for me, in a moment, I will also share about why did I get into this. But for me, as a child, I was beaten up a lot. But when I grew up as a teenager, I discounted my own feelings. I discounted saying, हर कोई तो मार खा के बड़ा होता है, उसमें कौन सी बड़ी चीज है, बड़ी बात है, right? But my body remembered. My body remembered, and that exact same thing I was able to replicate in my daughter when I became a parent, right? And that is where, it intrigued me to learn more about this inner child and inner child healing. Now, inner child healing is nothing but you going back and really embracing yourself, allowing yourself to feel, because we have this mechanism now, coping mechanism, that we don't allow ourselves to feel. And that is where most people are stuck. They're not able to go ahead. They're not able to lead a significant life. And when I say significant life, it's a life beyond success. Success to theek hai. Gadi, bangla, job, all of that is going to come if you work hard and all of that. But what is significant life? When we are actually creating an impact in this world, when we are on our journey of creating legacy, right? And that is what people don't realize, that you don't have to conform to these rules and regulations that, the government or, overall has been implied on us. We can create our own destiny. And that's where, I That's where inner child healing is like the foundation. Every single person on this planet Earth requires inner child healing. And this is not me who's saying. There's been a lot of research, a lot of study that has been conducted, that the wars, the cruelty that is happening is because of inner child wounds, right? And that is where, the work that I do, inner child healing and helping adults heal from their past traumas so that we can heal from the past, embrace our present, and empower our future. Because we also want to manifest a lot of beautiful things in our life,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's about it. This is something which I live, breathe, eat, drink. So I can go on and on about this. You have to stop me. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Now let's go back a little bit to the childhood. One thing that has been bugging me a lot is whenever I criticized somebody
Mm.
that we shouldn't be hitting kids. Okay. I
Mm.
say that we shouldn't be hitting kids. This was before I got my own kid. Okay. I have heard this a lot from so many of my uncles, aunts, and everybody that you will understand when you have your own kid. Okay. But actually, how much ever I had a lack of understanding of them before having a kid, now the lack of understanding is like even more. In the sense I'm understanding them even lesser. I'm feeling like now that I have a kid, I feel I will never do this to her. But they are so confident that when I have a kid, I will also become like that. So where does this kind of mentality or this kind of confidence come that my way is the right way? Whatever
Mm.
they have found in childhood. One thing that I can think about is, मैंने बहुत मार खाई है. I got beaten a lot by my parents, and I turned out fine. That's one way. But that we know that they have not turned out fine. They are seeing problems somewhere else. But people are not aware on it. That is one thing. But not having awareness is one thing, and being very confident on the wrong way is another thing. So where does this come from? So can you just put some light into that psychology?
Yeah. And I think there are multiple facets to this particular question because it depends on the person's upbringing. It depends upon the mindset that the person operates from. It depends on their own past traumas and wounds, right? And let me share one more similar story that happened. I was conducting my masterclass and my sessions, right? And there was one person, he was actually, at that time I was working, and he was my boss who had attended the session. Okay, uh, not the direct boss, but
Yeah,
like,
serious.
yeah,
Yeah.
senior. And he had after I completed my session, he told me that that's all fine. This theoretically it's all good, but then I truly believe if my son is acting out, I would rather prefer giving him a tight slap and make him learn the lesson rather than acknowledging him and, going that route,
Hmm.
right? And I felt I did not want to, say anything in that matter because, of course, you tend to respect the person, and but I was in my head, I was like, okay, let me talk to your son then. How does he feel about that particular statement that you just shared? It comes from our childhood conditioning, like our parents, right? Our parents and their parents and their parents, let me share with you, they have not fulfilled their basic hierarchy of needs. We all know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The basic hierarchy of needs was safety, security, money, food, shelter, right? They had to struggle a lot for it. And that's the reason up in the pyramid, that self-actualization that happens in the topmost, that never happened for them. And for them, it is all about, how I can earn money, how I can bring money, bring bread to my family. It was all about that. And they always operated from that perspective, always operated from that level of mindset, right? Just imagine, no, the person who has struggled a lot even for one-time food, their mindset will not be of self-actualization. Their mindset will never be, let my child grow. In fact, they will include their children also to the work or whatever they are doing. Now just observe, no, observe the poor people. What do? They involve their children, even for begging, right? Do you think they will ever have that mindset that no, I should not beat up my child and I should follow this route? No, never. And that is what has happened with our previous generations. That's the reason, the mindset part, right? And they have, they believe that, this is this is this is how it is. They have this fixed mindset, right? This is how it is. This is how it should be, right? And it's a human tendency. When we learn certain things, no, we feel that this is the only way, and we feel rigid. We become rigid on that particular aspect, and even we are in certain aspects, right? We feel that no, there cannot be another way of addressing this, and we all have it. It's a normal human tendency, human psychology. But for them, what happens is they are coming from their own experiences, right? They are coming from their own challenges, and they have never seen the other side of it. And that's the reason, when they have not seen the other side of it, they feel that this is the only way. That beating up your child and letting them know that how, they should behave, that's the only way, right? That's where the conditioning, and that's where all of this is played out. Now, for us, we, thankfully, we have been brought up in a way where we were secured. We never felt that I'm not safe in this. Yes, people who went through trauma, they might have that inherently within, that they feel unsafe even with their parents. That is a different ball game altogether. But in terms of money, in terms of security, we were always secure, right? Even if you're coming from a middle class background, right? That's what we always say, right? Now that we have worked upon our, mindset, money mindset, we now no longer say that.
Yeah.
Because we were courageous enough to challenge our own beliefs, right? We were courageous enough to go ahead, invest in our growth in lakhs. And that's why we are on that self-actualization journey,
Yeah, very true.
right? So that's where it's coming. I hope this answers your question. And for us, our in that hierarchy of needs, right? Our needs were met
Yeah.
mostly.
Okay. Very true, actually. So before moving forward on this, I just want to first remove the elephant from the room. And that elephant is about the same debate on whether you should beat your kid or not beat your kid. One thing that I have seen is that people are boasting about it. Like, I used to get beaten nicely,
Yeah.
something like that. And maybe it's coming from a place of if I'm beaten nicely, then I'm basically boasting about being a rebel, right? So
Mm.
if I'm a rebel, I'm cool, right? Instead of the
Mm.
person who is always following the rules, right? So if I'm a
True.
rebel, I'm a cool person, I'm a courageous person. So I was getting beat up nicely means I was a rebel and I'm cool. I see so many Instagram reels where and even YouTube videos where there are like entertainment of parents slapping or kicking the kids.
Yeah, I've seen that
Yeah. So
too.
there is this kid who goes on to prank their parents, saying that my girlfriend is pregnant or something like that, and the parents are kicking and beating up the adult child, and the camera is on, and this is entertainment. So if I just tell this also to so many people my age or even people younger to me, they will say that no, no, for Indians this is normal. For Indians this is a good thing only and all that. Thankfully, in schools they have stopped hitting the
Yeah.
kids, but at home it is still going on. So let's just go ahead a little bit and deep dive into what really goes on into a kid's mind when they are
Yeah.
slapped or even hit physically
Mm.
painful something, either
Yeah.
it's a pinching or it's a hitting or something. Do they really get disciplined because of the beating or not is the question that I want to highlight on.
That's actually a beautiful question, and that is something that I work on majorly. That is the USP, right? That anger that comes for parents, and they feel justified when their anger comes, that my child triggered me, right? And um, like even though there are videos and that jokes apart, but when you hit your child, you're actually training them to invite abusers in their life. They feel, as a child, they feel they are abused, they are uh, beaten up, and when they grow up, they feel that, you know, I deserve this. When a child is being beaten up, the psychology behind the child's being so scared is they are the most defenseless people on the planet. They cannot defend themselves, right? And when they cannot defend themselves, they try to create a lot of coping mechanisms. And when there are a lot of coping mechanisms, when we grow as an adult, there are multiple repercussions to it. Now, for example, my example I'll share with you. I was a forgetful kid. You know my story, right? And for forgetting things, I was beaten up. My mom has always been a perfectionist. And I would be beaten up for forgetting things, for doing wrong things, or whatever it is. I would be beaten up. Eventually, I inherited this belief that no one can understand me. No one understands me. Because of that, when I grew up as a teenager, I did not have that confidence, that level of confidence. I always felt out of place. I always felt that, I don't deserve to be here. Right. I always operated from that fear that maybe not many people will like me, because as it is, nobody understands me, right? That's the core belief that I held on to. And because of that, my communication impacted. I became a people pleaser. I thought that if I try to become nice to others, they might like me, they might understand me. When you become a people pleaser, when you become a person who's seeking validation from others, you've actually lost your own power. And there are incidences when some things happened and I could not voice it out. I could not voice it out because I felt that I deserve it. Right. Now, when a child goes through something like beatings, and when we grow up, yes, we do make fun of it because that is our defense mechanism. Many people become jesters, they joke around their own life, right? Why? We know different archetypes, right? That Carl Jung himself has created. And all these archetypes, right? They play a certain role. They play they have their own coping mechanisms, defense mechanisms through which they sail through life. And when we have coping mechanisms as the reactions or the response to what is happening in our life, can we say we are authentic to ourselves? No, we cannot say we are authentic to ourselves, because when we were authentic, we were rejected. As a child, when we felt those emotions, we were never told what are our emotions. What are those emotions that we experience? We were never even educated about our own feelings. In fact, we were told that you should never listen to your feelings. Whatever you're feeling is invalid, right? We were always invalidated. And whenever we would cry out loud or whenever we would shout out of that frustration, we were told, Rona band karo, else you will get a smack from me, right? Boys don't cry. Girls don't show their anger. Girls have always been suppressed to show their anger, and boys have always been suppressed to show their vulnerability. And when that happens with a child, their authentic self is already rejected. And in order to survive, there is a need to create a false self. And we hide behind this false self. 95% people are hiding behind this false self. They are leading an inauthentic life. They don't even know what they want in their life. They feel that अरे जॉब ही करना है हमको, जॉब एजुकेशन सिस्टम जो भी हमें सिखाता है उतना ही हम कर सकते हैं. There are so many people who have given up that ओके अभी लाइफ भर जॉब ही करना है, ये दिस इज ओनली द थिंग, मेरे बच्चों को बड़ा करना है, बच्चों को भी जॉब में ही घुसाना है, दिस इज हाउ लाइफ इज. दे हैव गिवन अवे, गिवन अप, दे हैव गिवन अवे देयर लाइफ टू conformity. That is the real challenge. When you can't even live your life the way you want, then what's the fun in it? That's the reason people don't even realize that they are just like puppets. They're just living their life as puppets or machines. That okay, ये करना है, सुबह उठ के 9 बजे ऑफिस जाना है, 6 बजे आके थोड़ा मोबाइल डिस्ट्रैक्शन, टीवी लगा के रखना है. They don't even think that what can they do in their life, in their, what can they create. They don't even have that vision, and that's the reason our community name is also Visionary Parent, right? They don't even have a vision. And how that vision will be developed? Only when you have healed yourself from the past and you realize, you are aware that yes, I went through, you acknowledge that yes, I went through this, I want to change my life. People are living their life in denial. And that's the reason, today people are suffering. People feel that, this is how it is, this is how the life is. They've conformed and that's how they live their life. And they're not even trying to challenge it. That's my main pain, that at least challenge your ideologies, at least challenge your beliefs, challenge where you are brought up. Why can't we create our own, business at the age of 40? Why can't we do it? People have become famous at the age of 60, and you feel that, they are the lucky ones, or they are the, यार, एक 100 में से एक ऐसा बंदा होता है जो 60 में फेमस होता है. एंड दे हैव लिटरली कन्फर्म कि नहीं, ये ऐसी ही लाइफ है, दिस इज हाउ लाइफ इज ऑल अबाउट, दिस इज हाउ लाइफ इज, राइट? एंड दैट इज वेयर, it really
And
pains me.
and I think fear of failure is also a part of it. They think that, okay, if I try and what if nothing happens?
Yes,
What if nothing happens, Volke? If you don't even try, then your life is over, no? Like,
exactly.
you wasted. But at least you wouldn't have the regret that I tried. At least I tried.
Yes,
That regret, I am okay to live with that regret of, okay, at least I tried for something, other than not trying because what if I fail?
exactly.
I feel
and
like that is the difference.
and that's where, this fear is coming from their childhood. They're operating from their past. Whenever there is fear, it is that you're operating from your past. That past में ऐसा हुआ था, इसलिए मैं नहीं कर सकता या कर सकती, right?
Yeah.
That's where you absolutely need, that's when you absolutely need inner child healing in order to heal yourself from the past so that you can see a brighter future.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that there is one thing, like, I'll just try to summarize this whole thing. Please correct me wherever you feel. So let's say the kid has been beaten up by the parents all their lives, okay? That to get out of the trauma, you need inner child healing. Now, because of the beaten up situation, because of the person you became, because of being inauthentic, you started people pleasing, and that is caused you to not set boundaries. Now, to set boundaries and everything, you still need inner child healing, and then you are in denial and you go through this. For this also, you need inner child healing. So somewhere in 3-4 stages of what you have said, we are coming back again to inner child healing, and once you do it, all of these are like tick 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 tick. Everything is
Absolutely.
working. It's so beautiful to see that, but it's also sad that the denial part of it is the biggest problem here.
Yeah. And it's the denial that stops a person from going ahead and even considering that there is some problem.
Yeah.
People are in denial that नहीं, मेरे साथ कोई problem नहीं है, मेरी life तो अच्छी है.
Yeah, but the question still prevails that, but we have to beat the kid. Otherwise, how will the kid learn discipline? Does this kid really learn discipline in the right sense? Or does it make the kid either a rebel and then starts hiding things from the parents? In my understanding, the beating doesn't lead to discipline. The beating leads to worrying that if I do this and I get caught, then I will be beaten. I
Yeah.
want to do it. I still want to do the bad thing. That part doesn't go away. And I think the major problem that I see in the whole thing is, if the kid is in danger of some sort, will they truly believe that my parent he will come to help me, or will they be scared that my parents will kill me?
Absolutely.
Or should she have a reaction that I really want to call my mom so that she can come and save me? So I feel like this whole dynamic changes if you are beating up the kid.
In fact, that is a very beautiful question, Pritika. Thank you so much for asking me that, because this is something we also cater to in our, program Your Child's Subconscious Mind. Now, there is something called key defining moments. Okay, as a child, when you are beaten up for certain things, right? It is never can you get disciplined by it. You can definitely operate from fear and not do certain things, but it is not discipline. Right? Discipline comes from within. Discipline never comes externally. When the external push is there, at that time discipline will come. It never happens that way. Discipline always comes from within. I need to feel that yes, every single morning I need to do a certain routine. I need to feel it from within, and only then I can bring that in materialization. Right? Discipline can never happen by beating the child, because discipline is internal. First thing, every single person who's listening, get this. If you're a parent, get this in your head, that discipline does not come from your beating. Discipline does not come from your constantly nagging behind the child. It comes from within. Discipline is personal to every single person. For your child also, it needs to come from within. But then you will ask me that how to discipline a child, right? How to discipline a child not to hit my child? There is something called key defining moments, KDM. Okay, this is something that I share even in the community. That, for example, let me share with you my personal story. As a child, one day I was in fifth or sixth standard. I felt like eating something, okay, from the canteen, from school's canteen. And I know my mom wouldn't give me money because it's middle of the week, and we used to get that some amount of money only for some, if there's a canteen day or something like that, okay. And on that particular day, I felt that urge of eating vada pav. I'm a Mumbaikar, so I love vada pav, okay. So I took some money from my mom's pocket, and the intention was only that I want to eat, and I know my mom will not give it to me. And now this is the repercussion of, being beaten up. I felt that I will be disregarded, discredited, or, I don't know. And that's the reason it made me to act that way. But now, when I took that money, 5 to 7 rupees, I took from my mom's pocket, and when I put it in my bag, and my mom has always a habit, before going to school and after coming back from school, she will always check my bag. And before going to school only, she checked my bag. She saw the money that I've taken, and there are two ways that my mom could have reacted. Right? The first way would be, oh my God, how can my daughter do this? She stole from me. Right? That is the way most of the parents would react. अरे यही सिखाया मैंने बच्ची को, मेरी बच्ची तो बहुत गलत गलत काम करेगी, right? And the second way was the way that she actually reacted it. She came to me, she sat beside me, and she just told me that, "Bacha, I saw you taking the money. Bacha, हम चोरी नहीं करते." That was the key defining moment for me. And not stealing money from anybody for that matter became my core value. You understand? Core value. I cannot even think of taking money or stealing money from someone. And I've had a couple of friends who would do that. But because of that particular event in my life, it became a core value for me. Right? And that is what I'm talking about. When you can't discipline, when you see that your child is doing some mistakes, that in fact is the best opportunity for you to instill a core value using a key defining key defining moment process.
Yeah, very true. Let me ask a few more reactionary arguments that come from typical parents. They'll say something like, "You have a nice kid, and you were a nice kid. That's why you took it as a good value, and but that is not how all kids are. Now if I would do this to my kid, then my kid would think that okay, I can still lie to my parent and take it, without this person knowing, and like I can fool my parent. This is how my kid will think. So this will not work for every kid. So how will you answer to that?"
There's a beautiful quote, okay, by someone. If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, any which ways, you're absolutely right. Right? So such people, we can't change their mindset till the time they understand that yes, the fault is in us. Right? You cannot, it's never external. It is never external.
Hmm.
Right?
I truly believe that kids are more like the clay which has not been turned into a pot yet, right? So we can shape them however we want, to a very great extent. So if the parent thinks like that, then the parent is actually distrusting the kid
Yes.
just because the kid might have made some mistakes. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they feel, this is the foundation level belief that all parents have, that their children don't know anything or their children don't understand anything. The child starts learning when the child is in the womb. The child is the child's neural pathways are created by the experiences the child has. And you feel that the child doesn't know anything or the child doesn't understand anything, that's absolutely wrong. And it is only and only our own inability to trust our children that causes these problems.
But why does it happen? Why are parents so distrustful of their own kids? कि मेरा बच्चा तो बदमाश है, how does that happen?
All conditioning. All conditioning. Because they did not get that trust from their parents.
Okay.
So they inherently know that that जब मैं छोटी थी मुझे नहीं विश्वास like I did not get the trust. That means every child did not get the trust. And most of the times, like not most of the times, but this little voice that we have, right? That inner voice that controls our decisions, controls how we behave. It that inner voice is majority of the times our parents' voice.
Yeah, very true. And what about the patience that a parent is supposed to have? For example, my kid, she has this habit of hitting. It's the phase right now where she's hitting everybody. So I came to you for that also, and you said that instead of getting angry or hitting her back or whatever it is, why don't you just say that we don't do that here? And she still hits, by the way, but I have seen a difference. It's come down. Okay, it's not so much. And then as it came down, I started observing myself as to when she feels the trigger to hit, when she feels the want to hit. And I realized that she's doing that only when I haven't heard her the first time. Second time she has to
Hmm.
repeat, it makes her angry and she'll hit and she'll say. And she thinks that if I hit, she will listen. Because she already got
Hmm.
used to it that in the first time I was focusing on something else. And for some reason I did not hear. And it's just offending her in a way. And she'll hit again and say the same thing, thinking that,
Yeah,
oh, I hit her, now she will listen to me. So
exactly.
somewhere the trigger is happening. So I was able to see, and I think being a coach helps. So I was able to kind of see where the trigger comes from and then act accordingly. And if I did not hear, I would just leave everything and I would just say, I'm so sorry, I could not hear what you said. Can you please repeat? And then she will not hit. So that has happened to me.
Yeah.
But if I still say this to the typical parents again as an argument, they will say something like, who has that kind of patience? all that. And, I don't have that kind of time or that kind of patience. So this is what they say. So what do you have to say to that answer?
Well, first of all, you know, when it comes to children, right? And like the reason I shared that with you, that you just share, you don't want to beat her back or hit her back just to teach her a lesson, right? Because children thrive in predictability. If they're getting an unpredictable environment, of course, they're going to carry wounds. If there is an unpredictability in our behaviors constantly, and all of a sudden we are getting angry, all of a sudden we are impatient, that means the child feels threatened, right? The child's amygdala is getting reactions, right? And that's how the child will always, even after we grow up, even after they grow up, they are going to have these reactions, these triggers, right? Now, patience is something, we need to have it. There's no other answer to it that I can give, because the moment you decided to be a parent, you should have looked upon what is parenting all about, right? And yes, of course, we don't know all the answers. We will never know the answers. And that's where, as a parent, healing yourself from your own triggers play a huge role in this. Because if you're saying you're not patient enough, that means you're operating from the past. And most of the times, like you also shared, the problems happen, the impatience happens because we are not present in that present moment. And the child is completely 100% present. All the child has, the child does not know how to operate from past. The child, yes, the child might operate from future, but it has to go for some years, right? The child has to grow for some years. It only happens after 7 8 years when they start dreaming about things, right? From 0 to 3, children are like one with the environment. They don't even know that my mother and father is a different entity, right? So when it comes to patience, that is something that you need to have. Otherwise, you can choose to do autopilot parenting or helicopter parenting, whatever we call it nowadays, right? You can go ahead and very well do it, but your children would have wounds then. And if you do, like, this is not for people who are okay with letting their child grow up as they want, as it happens. Inner child healing is only for people who are aware enough that if I do not change my ways of parenting, if I do not stop operating from my own past triggers, I might as well cause, you know, deep level cuts and wounds to my child, right?
Very true.
So that's what I think, that patience is something that you need to have. There's no other way around it. But when you heal yourself from those triggers, right? When you heal yourself from those past wounds that you're carrying, you develop a lot of patience. In fact, I would say that you wouldn't even need to have patience, because then you are not operating from that past. Then you are very well operating from the present. And that's the reason, when you are operating from the present, you will not be uh, you will not be fighting for that, for that time, or for that, that instances where you feel triggered. Trigger is all in the past. Right now, what is happening is stimulus.
Yes.
Whatever your child is doing is a stimuli. The trigger lies way behind in your childhood. Until the time you heal from that childhood trauma or wound, you will keep triggering, or you will keep on reacting to the current situations, to the present situations.
Yeah, very true. Now, when anybody listens to this podcast, right, they are going to think that, oh, this is for people who have had childhood traumas. This is for people who had childhood wounds. I am good only. My childhood was amazing. People are so busy romanticizing their childhood that they don't even realize that they have childhood trauma or wounds which is affecting their life right now. They acknowledge that they have so many problems in their life right now, but they don't know that it could be because of something in the past. One
Absolutely.
other point that comes up with this is that we are always taught and conditioned to say that our parents are gods. You know, they can't do anything wrong. How big or how small something has to be a childhood wound. Like I got
True.
beaten up, but that's not a trauma. Or I got told that you shouldn't cry, but that's not a trauma.
Hmm.
So where do we draw the line, and what is actually coming in the category of trauma and what is not? So how do we even realize that, and how to connect it to today?
First of all, when I say about trauma, right, that's what I say, that's what I shared right in the beginning, that trauma, the definition of trauma is different for different person, right? A spilled milk might be different for you, it might be different, it might have different meaning for me, right?
Yeah,
Getting my point, right?
yeah,
And trauma is absolutely subjective. If you feel you have not been through trauma, of course, there are 95% people who are in denial. Okay. And even though it might not have been as traumatic as a person who might have gone through sexual abuse, but still that trauma that stops you from really living your life to the fullest potential is the trauma that you've been through. And that trauma, the definition of it remains with you. But till the time you realize that this particular, jitna bhi ho, this particular thing, this particular conditioning is stopping me from really reaching this level where I want to actually reach. The moment we realize that this small thing, that happened in my childhood is actually the cause of me not reaching that level, if you're at least able to be aware of it, I'm not saying you go ahead and heal that part or you do anything about it. People are not even aware. That is where the awareness, the acknowledgement part comes, where you just acknowledge that yes, this was something that at that time it really mattered to me. As a child, it really mattered to me. Over the time, we have been taught to discount our feelings. Over the time, we have always been told that you should respect your parents. Yes, of course, we should respect our parents. I am nowhere suggesting that you should not respect your parents or you should not love them the way they have loved you, and they have loved us in whatever capacities that they had. Okay, so we are not here to judge our parents, and we are not here to judge ourselves. But the moment you realize that you have been discounting your own feelings, discounting that yes, that was a trauma when I was a child, that 7-year old who did not know anything about life had to go through something terrible. As a grown up, we suppressed it, we suppressed it, we suppressed it, and as a grown up, we feel that हाँ वो हो गया था, किसी से मार खाई थी, doesn't matter right now. But that one small thing that happened that really mattered to that little child, and you are sum total of every experience that you've ever been through. You are sum total of everything that you've been through as a child and growing up. So you cannot leave that part. You cannot, just throw that in garbage, right? You are sum total of that experience as well. So very well go back and heal that part,
yeah,
because that part is going to dictate your life. Like for me, when I was beaten up, I inherited this belief that no one will ever understand me. And that's the reason, that's the cause for me to get triggered when someone would say, yaar, itna bhi bhul gayi. I had suppressed anger, right? I had suppressed anger from my mother, and growing up, it was all, I used to suppress a lot. And as a grown up, as an adult, whenever anybody would tell me that itna bhi bhul gayi Apurva, that used to trigger me, because that trigger was way behind where that belief came, right? That nobody understands me. And that inner voice would tell me, how can nobody understand me? Why can't people understand me? That this is inherently, I'm inherently forgetting. It's not on purpose that I'm doing this, right? And that I used to project on others. I used to project my anger on others. So when I projected my problems onto others, and that used to happen like once in a blue moon. That used to happen once in a while. But still, was that not trauma? Was that not a conditioning? That was that not a trigger? It was, right? It was driving me. It was dictating my life. And that is the reason I did not have good relationship with people around me. I did not have a good relationship with my husband. They used to fight because I used to get triggered. We used to fight because, of course, he also had his own traumas and inner child wounds. And that's where we operated, in relationships. We operate from the level of wounds that we have. This is a statement which is so powerful and it applies in every walk of our relationships. If you had an emotionally unavailable parent, you will attract emotionally unavailable partner.
Mm.
Whatever is incomplete with your parent, whatever complaints you've always had with your parent or your mother or your father, that those complaints you will carry in your relationships, in your partners, in your romantic relationships. Why? Because it happens at a very subtle level. You won't even realize that it's playing out that way.
Because it's familiar in a way that,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're always seeking for that, and there's a beautiful story that I always share in healathon sessions that we do. I'll quickly share that story, okay? There was a girl called Maggie, okay? The name is changed, of course. And this is a true story. Maggie, early on in her life, she became a caretaker for her mother. She experienced her father would beat up her mother. There was a domestic violence that was involved in it. And early on, she became a caretaker for her mother. She would always take care of her mother. She would always, be that confidant for her mother. Her mother would hug her and cry and, share with her. Growing up, Maggie became a counselor for women who went through domestic abuse. But at the same time, she attracted men who would physically abuse her.
She was not able to set the boundary.
No, because how can she go beyond what her mother's destiny was?
Yeah.
You understand, it plays at such a subtle level that how can I grow beyond my mother? I should experience whatever my mother went through. I should be experiencing it. And a witness to violence becomes a victim of a violence.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
this goes so deep. Even Adolf Hitler, we all call him that dictator, that cruelty that he showed, right? As a child, he was physically abused, chronically beaten up, and toxically shamed by his father, who was an illegitimate son of a Jewish. And that's the reason he killed so many Jews. That is the hatred that he carried from his father. And I'm not in any way justifying what he did, but in inner child healing is something that will heal you from all of this. Now we understand how deep this is.
Yeah.
And it happens at a very subtle level. We don't even realize that this is our pattern. This is something that we've collected as a child. Till the time, of course, we invest in our own personal growth, we invest in these kind of programs where we understand where our wounds are coming from. Now, would you say that Maggie was not a victim of violence, but she ended up becoming a victim of violence,
Yeah.
right? Because she witnessed violence in her childhood. She was never beaten up. She might have grown into an adult. Okay, fine, मेरे साथ तो कुछ बुरा हुआ ही नहीं. ठीक है, mom dad का होते रहता था, right? But that is what we need to question
Mhm.
to ourselves, that what did we go through as a child? Were there some conditioning that has happened as a child, even though you might have had the best childhood? Were there moments when you were told that, you're not good enough, or you were told that, तुम तो कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं कर सकते, and that became your core belief that मैं कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं कर सकता, and that's the reason you're struggling today. It's a matter of asking yourself those questions. even though your childhood seems normal, were you told money doesn't grow on trees? You have to work literally very hard to earn a lot of money, and that's the reason you're not able to attract money in your life.
Yeah, happens. Happened with me.
Yeah, it happened with me too. We all, like I said, we all come from that middle class background, right? Where we were constantly told that, money doesn't grow on trees, paise pe nahi ugte. We have to work really, really very hard. My mom used to always say this wherever there would be a news of, someone getting a lottery, right? हमें lottery नहीं मिल सकती कभी. We have to work our way, work really very hard to earn a lot of money. And that was a core belief that I held on to till the moment I did MMI and I did multiple such programs,
And
right?
also that conditioning relates to the people who have got the lottery also. Like if they are in a scarcity mindset, they are going to lose that money within like a month.
Absolutely
It's happened to the Kaun Banega Crorepati winner also, right? Who within 1 year he went back to his old self, even after
absolutely
getting so many crores. It happens
true.
to this, and it's all again mindset.
Absolutely, it's all about the conditioning that you've been through.
Yeah,
If you have that core belief, no, that I cannot, I will not be able to keep that money, then the money is gone.
yeah, very
And
true.
I want viewers to really think back in their life when they have had these moments, when they had the money, but they couldn't do anything about that money and they lost that money. Is there a belief within you that told you that I cannot keep money, I cannot grow my money, I cannot, I do not deserve this money, even to that level? If you ever had this belief, it's bound to happen. It's bound that, you will lose that money, right?
Very true. This actually reminds me of something that I read, which is related to the story that you said. But here it is the person who is getting beaten up. The kid herself is getting beaten up. So this girl was getting beaten up, but in the remaining times when she was nice, she was behaving well, she was given a lot of love. And she was being
Hmm.
told also by the parents that she is very much loved. But then when she used to do anything wrong, she used to get beaten up nicely. So what happened to her is that she kind of equated getting beaten up to be an act of love. So when she got married and she was going through domestic abuse, she was justifying that her husband loves her because he was hitting her. And we see that again in certain movies also, and some certain directors actually telling it on, that, if you can't slap each other, then it's not love. So do you think there is a connection there? Do you think this makes sense?
There's a beautiful, beautiful concept, not beautiful, but Stockholm syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of it. Um, there was this incident that happened in Stockholm where some bankers were hold hostages and for a few days, and there were these robbers who who after even leaving these bankers after even leaving would think good about these robbers, right? They would think that no, they are good people, right? That is called Stockholm syndrome, and that is something that plays out a huge role in our society as well. That's called trauma bonding. That is called trauma bonding. When we bond ourselves with that trauma that happened with us, right? And we literally feel that that was a good thing that happened with us. That is when we are trauma bonding. That is when we attract relationships where even the partner is going through doing domestic abuse. We feel that that partner loves me and that's the reason he's doing it. He or she is doing it. That's called trauma bonding. And you know it's so sad that some people are still not aware of this. Maybe through your podcast, through this particular video that we are shooting, through this, there will be a lot of awareness that goes out to these women, especially where if you feel that beating you up was a good thing that your partner did, then it's trauma bonding. You're bonding yourself over something that and these people, they have this sense of codependency, sense of, feeling that my feelings are not important. What I've gone through, what I've done is much worse than what my partner did,
Hmm.
right? They have this inherent guilt. They have this inherent, feeling that what I feel is not right, right? And that's where the codependency comes into play, that they are not in touch with their own feelings.
Yeah. So I think we are coming back to the same pointer of not being authentic, which you said in the beginning, to not being in touch with their own feelings. And somewhere I think we are missing out a major part of all this, which is connecting everything to each other, which is gaslighting. So when a parent, gaslighting as a word means that you are not acknowledging somebody else's emotion in this scenario at the very least,
Yeah.
but the parents, as a as a young child, if the parents are not validating their emotions, and that is making the kid to be not authentic, inauthentic in their lives, and later on this comes to a point where they are feeling guilty for something that they did not do, and all of these are kind of connecting with each other. I feel like the common thread among all of this is because as a young kid, the parent had gaslighted the kid into saying that your emotions are not valid. Now we are doing the same thing to ourselves, which is self gaslighting. And that's,
Absolutely.
I feel, the biggest problem in all this. Saying that, no, it's okay. I went through a problem, but it's okay. I faced rejection or I faced insult there, but it's okay. My mother-in-law said this to me, but it's okay. Everywhere
Yeah,
just saying it's okay because my emotions don't matter, you know,
absolutely.
and that has painfully made me aware through my coaching that so many of my students are going through that, who are much younger to me, like less than 30, I'm talking about, who are women, married women, who won't even tell their problems to their husband because let me not bother him. Or
Mm.
if they are even, I've also seen an extreme case where she's saying that I won't ask the money with my to my husband because I don't want to feel like I'm using him. At the same
Mm.
time, he
Yeah.
has borrowed a lot of money from her, and that's okay.
Mm.
But now, if she's asking like a tiny amount back, she's feeling like she's using him. So there is a guilt over there because of a lot of self gaslighting. So can we shed a light on self gaslighting a little more that happens from childhood, where you are telling yourself that my emotions don't matter, and you're basically kind of beating yourself up if you are feeling a certain way
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
context. So can you put a little
I
light?
think I think it's more to do with the sense of self.
Mm.
We have such a low sense of self since childhood. And I'm not saying it's just women or it's just girls that go through this. Even men go through this. Even men are told that you're not good enough, or you're not this, or you're not that, or you should not expect this, or your feelings don't matter. We all have been through this. And self gaslighting is nothing but, you not having that sense of self, right? Not understanding the sense of self. And when you do not have that level of self concept, you're bound to feel like a burden to others. You're bound to feel that you're using others. Because, see, when you have highest sense of self, in fact, you will use people. Because universe works through people, right? And using someone is has been given such a negative spotlight, that you're using someone for your own motives. And yes, definitely there are people who would be using you for their own self motives, and not even do good to you. But when you truly have sense of self, and when you have that mindset that I can serve others better by doing this, or by asking money, or by asking this, right? Asking for this. That all boils down to, basically, do you have that sense of self concept or not? Right? That self gaslighting also happens because we do not have that sense of self, right?
Where do we
And
where do we start with that sense of self? Like कहीं से तो शुरू करना है. Where to
child
start?
healing, start from the foundation.
Hmm.
When the foundation is strong, there's nothing you can stop. There's nothing that can stop you.
So again, coming back to inner child healing. Yeah.
And I have experienced, we know those 6 stages that I share, right? The first stage is awareness, acknowledging that you went through some kind of trauma, some kind of conditioning in your past. Then second state is state of acceptance and healing. That's when the healing starts. Once you're aware, then you will start healing, and then you'll start accepting yourself the way you are. That's where the sense of self-love, the sense of self-concept, all of that comes into picture. Then comes the inner transformation, state of inner transformation, when you experience some inner shifts, right? You feel peaceful, you feel happy from within. Then comes the state of outer transformation, where you start manifesting certain things in your life. The next is state of intention. Now you know that you're manifesting certain things, you start living with that level of intention, that level of consciousness. And when you have reached that level of consciousness, you naturally become a natural manifester or a creator of your life or a designer of your life, right? So these are the 6 stages that you go through in your lifetime. But so many of them are not even going through this stage because they feel that they're not good enough. They're not, that self-gaslighting, right? They're not even aware of the problems. Where is the problem, right? They're not even aware of the problem.
There are so many problems to people actually going through these stages. I acknowledge that, but I feel one of the biggest problems that we face is somewhere we feel a lot of guilt for betraying our parents when we go through these stages. So
Yeah,
what do we do? How do we overcome that? That has been the toughest thing for anybody I know who has gone through inner child healing, and including me. So that's been the biggest one, where we feel so much guilt that I feel like there is this big, heavy, hard situation where I'm feeling like I'm backstabbing my parents in a way, which is
yeah,
totally not true.
yeah,
After the healing, actually, my love for my parents, they have like become tenfold compared
yeah,
to how much it was before. But
yeah.
there is this guilt that literally stops us from going through this whole healing. And it's so sharp. It's very difficult to face it. So what do we do there?
I completely get your question. And this is one question that one of the community members asked me, that how are you able to openly share about your traumas, Apurva? Don't you think that your parents might feel bad about listening to what traumas you went through? And I shared one thing with her, that, my parents have also attended my sessions where I share that, whatever happened with me in the past. But there was a moment in my life where there was a moment in my life in the past where I did not talk to my mom at all. And there came a moment in my life where I thanked my mom for, whatever I went through. She was the channel, she was the medium for me to realize my purpose. She was the channel, and she is the sole person who, who helped me find my purpose in my life. Had it not been for her, I would not have found my purpose. Okay. So when it comes to, really doing the work, I always say this, that we are not here to blame our parents. They did whatever the best, in whatever best resources they had, they did their best. So inner child healing is no way you are justifying what they did. Neither you're justifying what they did, nor you're discounting your own feelings, right? We need to find a true balance in between both of these, right? And when can we find a balance? When we are detached, when we have detached ourselves from whatever happened with us in the past. We are not here to blame our parents. We are not here to talk negatively about our parents. We are just here to look within. What went wrong within? What is it that I can do now to heal from that past and really go ahead and manifest and attract that future that I deserve? It is not at all about you backbitching about your parents. It is about embracing your authentic self. And when it comes to embracing your authentic self, where does the question of demoralizing or, discarding what your parents did come from, right? It doesn't come, right? It is not easy. Inner child healing is not easy. It is going to be difficult. It is going to be a roller coaster ride. Like you have gone through it, Preet, already, right? You have gone through it. You know how difficult it was for you to face your past. You told me that, Apu, I don't know how I'm going to go ahead with this, but okay, fine. I'm just going to trust you and I'm going to hold you as an anchor and I'm just going to do this, right? That's the reason I say that inner child healing is not simple. It's not going to be a smooth journey. Yes, it is initially when. So this is something that I always share in the community that when there's a lot of suppression that has happened, when there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of lower vibration thoughts that we carry since childhood and in adulthood also we carry and we tend to what do you say we tend to trademark that, thappa laga dete hai ki, this is how it will be. And I feel guilty about if I'm going beyond this particular, box that I am in. Well, it's not going to be simple because there's a lot of suppression, there's a lot of guilt that we have suppressed. And when we try to heal ourselves, we are actually opening up that Pandora box. And when we open up that Pandora box, you cannot expect flowers and butterflies coming out. Of course, there's going to be a lot more anger, lot more guilt, lot more sadness, lot more depression that might come out for that particular phase. For that particular phase where you are going through that healing, right? When that Pandora box, you are able to open it up completely. There's going to be a lot of anger. Some of my students come and tell me that, Apu, I'm feeling a rage for my parents, what they have done, right? And I just tell them that it's okay. You don't have to do anything about it. Just be okay to feel. Just allow yourself to feel. That's the most difficult part. We don't allow ourselves to feel. And we do the same thing with our children. Whenever the child is crying, we try to distract the child. We don't allow the child to feel. And this is so prominent when the child is complaining, when the child is doing certain things, when the child is beating you, or when the child is feeling those emotions. The child is all emotions, right? Their conscious brain is not yet developed. Their consciousness is not yet developed. So they will act out. And when they act out, what we do? We feel, no, 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 don't open that Pandora box. Don't feel, don't feel, don't feel. And we try to distract them. Acha, chal, tablet le lo, mobile dekh lo, movie dekh lo. That's how we distract them. And we are actually depriving them to feel. We tell them, stop crying. That is where it's all coming from. And when you start allowing yourself to feel as an adult, yes, you will feel rage. Yes, you will feel sadness. You will feel immense guilt for doing what you're doing. But at that moment, you just have to allow yourself to feel. And when that is gone, that is when we are one step ahead. We start experiencing those inner shifts. Once that phase is done, we start accepting ourselves the way we are. Because now all that was stored, it's all gone.
Yeah.
Right? And once that is all gone, you have new purpose in your life. Your purpose is no longer to blame your parents. Your purpose is to find your own true self.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very true. This is such a profound answer, and I need a moment to even go through it. But this was such a beautiful answer. So thank you so much, Apurva, for this. And one last question on this
Yeah.
is, of course, we know that now I think it's established that everybody has to do inner child healing, and that's a given and everything. But of course, that will happen when you get the 6 stages, the awareness, and onwards till the end, right? But other than inner child healing, what advice would you like to give to parents or soon to be parents? Of course, other than inner child healing, where they can be really good parents for their kids, what they
Hmm.
should expect, what they should do, other than inner child healing. Is there anything else you want to add to it?
Well, this is where my journey also started. My journey started with, me beating up my daughter, 6 years back, and then realizing that I was acting out of my own past. And that is when I started learning about child psychology, right? But if you are to be a parent, or if you are a parent already, you must understand child psychology and physiology, because see, at every stage that the child is in, the child is going through physical changes as well as psychological changes. So you need to understand at the age of 7 what is going to happen with them, so that we are well prepared. That okay, fine, this is a phase, this will pass off. This will pass away, or pass on, right? And when we are prepared, right? When we are prepared for our child's tantrums, where we are prepared of certain behaviors that the child gets from outside, we are better prepared to parent them, right? And that's why very important to understand child psychology and child physiology, right? Because that's where you get to know at every stage what happens with a child. And second thing is, you must understand that children are 100% subconscious. So whatever you say, whatever you do with them, whatever behaviors you have, you exhibit, whatever actions you take as a parent, they are going to reflect you. They are going to mirror you, because we all have this mirror neurons, right? And in children, they do not have the filter. They do not have the critical filter. So you can actually shape whichever way you want to your child. Just when you stop operating from your past, you will be able to clearly see this. Most of the parents, they don't see this because they are operating from the past.
Very true. Amazing. This has been such an amazing time that I had, and the kind of bulb ons I have had, it just almost made me forget that I'm doing an interview, and I was just feeling this urge to grab a book and a pencil and just, write down. So it's been so beautiful, and I had to just kind of remind myself again and again that the recording is going on. You don't have to write down, So I went through that. That's the level of answers I have got. And this is actually saying something, because I have completed my inner child healing and I'm still feeling like that. So this is like a golden nugget is a small word. This has been a huge golden big ball that has come today, and I'm very happy that this is something that I can present to people. So thank you so much for making this happen. And the kind of knowledge that you have got, and the kind of work that you have done with yourself and with learning child psychology, that is a big thing for somebody who came from IT, right? If you are already learning, psychology as
Yeah.
a degree or something, then it's a very different thing. But you took it upon yourself for your own benefit and then learned it, and now you are making it into good use and helping so many people get out of their shell and their own prejudices and conditioning in such a poor level. The kind of work that you are doing is so inspiring. I can't even begin to explain how inspiring it is. So thank you for doing what you are doing. Just thank you for being you. The kind of help that you have given to me, the kind of person that I've become now is because of you. So thank you so much for all this, and I'm just so happy that this turned out to be such an amazing interview. So can't wait to have this, uploaded so everybody can listen. And looking forward to another podcast like this where we can go deeper into one of the
Absolutely.
topics that is very, very personal, and most probably, like, I really want to take it upon the motherly wounds. I want
Yes.
to go deep into that. So let's take one more interview, and I can't wait to
Sure.
again start the next recording. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much, Ritika. Thank you so much for sharing, for inviting me in this particular interview, and it's just, it's just my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much.